Okay, let's talk about inflammation. So when we're talking about inflammation, we're really trying to understand what the role of the macrophages, dendritic cells, as well as mast cells are. We also have red blood cells and other white blood cells involved in this. So what happens is that we have, let's say this is the barrier, okay? This is the barrier, skin barrier. We have a protrusion of the pathogen. And the pathogen, first of all, let's identify the fact that they have very specific proteins on their surfaces. And these surface antigens, or these surface proteins, are known as antigens. Okay? So this is a pathogen. And they've got a very distinct shape. And because of this distinct shape, you have them known as pathogen associated molecular patterns. So they allow for the immune cells to identify or recognize them as foreign bodies, as not part of your body. And the one cell that is a whistleblower says, we got something in here that is not part of us, is the mast cell. So the mast cell, a type of innate immune cell, is granular, remember. Another thing that you must remember about it is that it is found in connective tissues. And when it comes in contact with the external environment, such as beneath epithelial cells, we see activation that goes on. They're the first to recognize these pathogens, and upon recognition, we have activation that goes on. Now, when we talk about activation, what is it that we're really alluding to? So, activation in this case, let me just draw it here. So the mast cell, when we talk about activation, we are talking about a release of histamine. So because these are histamine releasing cells. So the infected cells, so we have cells around, okay? So the infected cells, or wherever it is that the pathogen has gone into, we see that they release what is known as chemokines. Okay, so we have chemokines that are released into the interstitium. All right, so chemokines, and these chemokines, when released into the interstitial fluid, also activate the mast cells. And when they activate the mast cells, then the mast cells release histamine. Okay, so this is histamine. So histamine leads to several things. Let me draw a capillary here. And this capillary, of course, has endothelial cells. Now, one of the things that the histamine does is it leads to vasodilation. All right. So one thing, okay, let's take it back to blue because it's histamine. So we have vasodilation. So because there's increase in vasodilation, because there's vasodilation, we'll see that there is increased vascular permeability. Now, vascular permeability will allow for white blood cells to move through. Okay, so if we have white blood cells, um, what color can I use? If we have white blood cells that are in here, permeability implies the space between the endothelial cells increasing. So you will note that the white blood cells will have an ability to move out and go to this inflammation site. So moving out through this area that has been made available is known as diapedesis. Alright, I think it's an E here, diapedesis. So once they move out, they do migrate to the area of inflammation. Okay? And we see that because of that, number two, the thing that we're going to note is that there will be an increase in size. Alright? So the white blood cells have gone to this area of inflammation, and you will notice that there will be an increase in the size of the area. Okay? An increase in the size of the area can also be known as swelling. Okay? So there will be vasodilation, first of all, which causes increased permeability. Increased permeability will lead to diapedesis, and diapedesis will lead to the white blood cells moving to the area of infection, and this will cause that area to enlarge, and this enlargement of area because of increase in the number of cells that is there can be known as swelling. So swelling, because now there's an increase in the number of cells there, will lead to pressure on the nerves. So if there are any nerves nearby, close by, we'll see that there will be pressure on these nerves. And pressure on these nerves, of course, may lead to pain. Okay? So if there are nociceptors that are in that area, and also because of the prostaglandins and other chemicals that are being released, you will notice that pain will increase. So the swelling can be known as tumor, and then the pain is known as dollar. Okay, so not only does vasodilation lead to white blood cells moving out, but also it leads to an increase in blood perfusion. And the increase in blood perfusion will mean that that area, okay, so vasodilation will lead to increased blood perfusion. And increase in blood perfusion will lead to increased redness in the area of inflammation, and this is known as radar. And then, because of course the area now has blood there which is warmer, we will also notice that it will be warm, which is color. So at the end of the day, you're going to have an area that is swollen and painful, as well as redness and warmth being felt on that area. And now we understand why all of those, why you're able to see all of those things. So what is the response of the phagocytes in such a situation. We're going to look at that in the next video.